The ward where I spent most of the time was for youngsters aged, say, 7 to 17. And these were young boys who had sustained injuries from the implosive devices that are planted underground, the internal explosive devices, sometimes because they caught mortar fire or sniper fire and didn't even know which side was shooting at them, sometimes from having tried to pick up landmines on the mountain sides because they were trying to scavenge for brass, and sometimes, as in the case of Saifullah, because of having been a driver. Sorry, I'm thumping this as hard as I can, trying to make the map move. Casey, can I get your help? This is why I've never been very good at doing PowerPoints. Anyway, maybe I'll just, it's the next one that I want. Ah, yeah, thanks. So Saifullah came from a village called Panjshir, which I had also visited. And Panjshir is an area where there's tremendous poverty. I think some of you may know that 850 Afghan children die every single day. 850 children every day. From starvation, from gastrointestinal diseases, from malaria, from respiratory diseases. And it's very much related to poverty. And people in Saifullah's village tend to have 15 children. And sometimes, you know, the 5-year-old will be taking care of the 1-year-old, and everybody else is out in the fields and working hard. So Saifullah had learned how to drive, and he learned that he could get a huge sum of money if he became a driver for the U.S. military. The first year, his luck held. He was one of 7,000 drivers who every day would drive trucks that bring supplies to the United States military. And to do that, they come in through Karachi in Pakistan or through Gwadar, and the United States sends over every day 7,000 truckloads of materials for its troops. Well, you can imagine the U.S. military can't say to its troops, sorry, the convoy got held up today, so you're not going to have what you're accustomed to. Those convoys have to go. Well, if you happen to be a military warlord working against the United States or a drug lord who's got control over the roads, it's going to make sense to charge the U.S. military the highest price you can for those trucks to go through your roadways that you control. And the United States pays top dollar, $1,000 per truck. When you sometimes read that trucks were torched at the Quetta border crossing or at the Khyber Pass, between the lines you could kind of guess that something happened. Maybe somebody didn't pay up, or somebody was upset for some reason, and so, you know, 4 or 5 trucks might be burned, or 8 or 9 drivers might lose their lives. Well, Saifullah was lucky the second year also. He managed to go along the roads without going over any improvised explosive devices. He told me that the lead car in a U.S. convoy has the MRAP, the mine-resistant armored protection, and a GPS system. And the same is true of the final car, because U.S. troops are in the front and the back cars. But in the middle cars, the drivers really take their lives in their hands every day. The third year, Saifullah's luck ran out. He went over an improvised explosive device that was planted under the ground. The car went up in the air. When it came down, his back was injured, his leg was broken, his clavicle was broken, his arm was shattered, and he'd lost one leg. And so Saifullah's life would be altered forever. He had an amazingly gracious attitude about that. And I asked him, Saifullah, did you get any help from the United States after this horrible, tragic event? And he said, well, they medevaced me. They took me to the Italian hospital in the Helmand province where this had happened. And then it's called Lashkargah, the hospital that the Italians run is free. And then they sent him to Kabul because he needed such extensive surgery. But the United States has never gotten in touch with him again. After those 3 years of driving almost every day, he was never given any kind of compensation, assistance with surgery, rehabilitation, help for getting another job. But he still wasn't filled with any kind of rancor toward the United States. I did ask him, Saifullah, if U.S. troops were ever to come to Panjshir and burst into your home with a night raid or a death squad or an assassination team, what do you think you would do? And he didn't hesitate. I would fight, Madame Kathy, I would fight to the death. What would be the worth of the life without the family? And I think Saifullah has so much in common with young people in the United States who want to work, who might not mind getting out of their town and being able to have some advancement and help out their family. But it's such a curious reality that he would fight to the death if somebody invaded his village, and I think people here might feel the same way. And yet, the Afghan people have done nothing to harm us here in the United States. Nevertheless, enormous wealth and productivity is invested every day in the United States keeping an extensive occupation of their land and battles that go on constantly. So how does it cost so much? It costs $1 million to keep one U.S. soldier in Afghanistan for 1 year. Now, each of these dotted lines represents a different province. There are 34 provinces in Afghanistan. And if you were the district governor, there are 365 smaller districts in each of those provinces, your salary would be $70 a month. And you get a $15 per year budget for operating expenses. Do you think maybe some of those district governors are going to need to be out moonlighting? The teachers get $60 a month. One man told me that he sends his kids to a government school. The teachers go in, they sign up, and they go right to the marketplace to try and earn some money. And the schools are becoming corrupted and more of a laughable joke. And this is, of course, something that it spells despair throughout the country because they see the way out of poverty as a route through education. Meanwhile, you've got the United States troops being kept in pretty rustic conditions if they're in outposts, but those that are in the major bases in, say, Kandahar or Bagram or inside of Kabul are experiencing a life that comes as close as possible to kind of mimicking the life that they left behind. They even have grass or fast food places. Some of the soldiers complain about obesity being a problem.